All right, welcome back to the channel. So Danny Garcia is out on, I think that's Instagram, talking about he's got it made. It is either going to be for him, Errol Spence Jr., or it's going to be Manny Pacquiao. And I think he said it's going to be in July. So let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, hey, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. Also, thank you to everybody that supports through the Patreon, everybody that supports in the live streams we do Monday through Friday, and OG Boxing Talk on Sunday, and the channel members. Thank you guys so much. Let's talk about, it looks like there is, if you believe what Danny Garcia is saying, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It appears, according to Danny Garcia, he is going to either be fighting Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence Jr. in September. I think that I said July in the intro, but it really is September. Please forgive me. That was just wishful thinking on my part. So Danny Garcia is a former 140-pound kingpin, very good fighter. He's a former WBC 147-pound champion, and he is the mandatory challenger for the WBC title, which is held by Errol Spence Jr., the truth. Now, we knew that prior to Errol Spence Jr.'s car accident, knock on wood, thank you for the man making through, that they were supposed to fight. In fact, I believe that they were supposed to fight. That fight was supposed to happen in April, but now I guess it's pushed back to September. So what do you have? April, May, June, July, August, September. So would have been pushed back 5 months because of this virus. And so that is something that is a reasonable fight, or something that, we thought was going to happen. Now, Danny Garcia is also saying that if it's not Errol Spence Jr., then it may be Manny Pacquiao, but one of the other he's going to be fighting. I think that either one of those fights are very good fights to watch, and I do believe that they are both dangerous fights for both fighters fighting Danny Garcia. It's my belief that since around the time of the Mauricio Herrera fight, that Danny Garcia has been underrated. And I say that because he started getting a lot of heat when he was in 140 pounds. When he stopped, I think he started having fights at like catch weights between 147 and 140 pounds. And he had a couple fights, one that really ticked people off, which was a Rod Salka fight. And then he came in against Mauricio Herrera. And Mauricio Herrera who is an awkward fighter, is a very good, kind of a slick fighter. I think Mauricio Herrera might be from Argentina. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if Herrera is not from Argentina, but he reminds me of an Argentine fighter because he's one of these guys that are really awkward and can mirror what you're doing in a ring and just make guys look real bad. Similar to what you saw with Billy Joe Saunders in his first defense of his WBA 168-pound title against a guy from Argentina. Just really awkward guys. But that doesn't mean that that when you fight an awkward fighter, sometimes you're just gonna look bad. And I think that was the case with Danny Garcia. Now, some people thought he lost the fight. I probably would have given the fight to Mauricio Herrera, but there was just like, from that time on, I think he just became a very underrated fighter, because when you saw him in with the Sean Porter and when you saw him in with Keith Thurman, he let those fights get away from him in the early rounds, but the longer that fight went on, the stronger Danny Garcia looked, and the more in control of the fight Danny Garcia looked. And that, in my opinion, was the case with both Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. So Danny Garcia is one of these guys that is going to be there with you, and he is always a significant danger in the ring because of the way that he fights. because he throws punches when you throw punches, similar to like Luis Ortiz. One of the things that makes, in my observation, that makes Luis Ortiz very dangerous is that when you throw punch, you know that if you're throwing something, something's coming back, and you've got to worry about it. And he may or may not be looking. Definitely, Danny Garcia may or may not be looking at the spot that punch is headed to. He is excellent with taking a look at your left hip, and letting his left hook go while he's looking down in the midst of your stuff. And he's knocked out and hurt a bunch of dudes like that, man. So in the case of Manny Pacquiao or in the case of Errol Spence Jr., these are going to be fights that both Manny Pacquiao would be favored in, and Errol Spence Jr. would be favored in. But both guys need to be absolutely positively on their P's and Q's, be all the way ready to train. And boxing fans that would watch the fight need to be prepared for the fact that fight very well may be a lot closer than you expect it to be. Similar to what I said about the Errol Spence Jr. Sean Porter fight. People act as if, Errol Spence Jr. underperformed, and Errol Spence Jr. himself believes that he underperformed against Sean Porter. My perspective on it is that Sean Porter is just one of these guys that everybody is going to have a hard time with, because he is like a knuckleball pitcher, and I hate using baseball references because I know almost nothing about it. But kind of like a knuckleball guy that just throws, he just throws garbage. They call it junk. He just throws junk. And it's like, you just have a really hard time getting your hand on it versus, a guy that throws a really hard fastball or a crisp, or a nice curve. But you're able to expect it. What he's doing is predictable. And once you get the pattern and you know it's coming, there's something that you can do with it. But when you have junk balls that are flying all in the air, it throws you off, right? At least that's my understanding from the conversations that I have with real baseball people. In boxing, I think it's the same way. You got guys like Marcus McDonough, it's just going to be a hard fight. It's just going to be ugly. It's going to be, that's the Sean Porter type. That's the Sean Porter type situation. So, Danny Garcia, I think, is like that in a different way. He's just somebody that you can probably outbox. It looks like you're going to outbox and you're doing well boxing him. And then all of a sudden something comes and it changes the fight up. And that a perfect example of that was the fight against Bam Bam Rios. Used to be one of my favorite fighters, man. And actually, I'm doing this thing with Terence, working on this project with Terence Crawford. And it is so wild to see where Terence Crawford is fighting, and he's on the undercard for Bam Bam Rios, man. It is just amazing. But anyway, I see this. I like both of those fights. Now, how I think the fights that are actually going to get set up, I think that Danny Garcia is going to fight Errol Spence Jr. I don't think Danny Garcia is going to fight the fight with Manny Pacquiao, and that is for two reasons. One is Manny Pacquiao knowing perfectly well that Danny Garcia is a more dangerous fight than a fight that he could have with Mikey Garcia, right? So Mikey Garcia, there's a lot of talk about him fighting Mikey Garcia. And DAZN was pushing the idea heavily. However, seeing as things are the way they are, I doubt very much that Manny Pacquiao right now is looking at signing any type of deal to go over there and fight on DAZN. And because he can get that Fox money. Because Fox ain't hurting in the pockets because of what we're going through with this quarantine and all that, with businesses being shut down, while DAZN is. So that's one reason. The Mikey Garcia has the option for Mikey Garcia, which is probably which I think in his eye would be an easier fight for him, easier fight than Danny Garcia, because Mikey Garcia, you don't have to worry about you just getting laid out, where Danny Garcia, I've heard him mentioned as, and I think that there's a fairly good argument for him being, if not the biggest puncher in the welterweight division, one of the biggest punchers in the welterweight division for sure. Think he's got a bigger punch than Sean Porter. He's got his left hook for sure. His individual shot is as heavy as heavy as Errol Spence Jr.'s. It's as heavy as Terence Crawford's. It's as heavy as or heavier than Ugas's. You know, the dude is a threat. So I think Manny Pacquiao is probably going to go what he believes to be the easier route, and maybe once again see if somebody else might be able to beat Errol Spence Jr. so that he can then go and pick up the pieces and get an easier fight. And that would be Danny Garcia. So the way that I see it playing out is that Errol Spence Jr. will fight Danny Garcia, and Manny Pacquiao will fight Mikey Garcia. And more than likely, Errol Spence Jr. is going to beat Danny Garcia, more than likely. 70-30 on that for me. Mikey Garcia, I think Mikey Garcia is going to beat Manny Pacquiao. I think it's going to be a shocker. It's going to be an upset. And then you'll have Mikey Garcia with the welterweight championship and Errol Spence Jr. with the welterweight championship. Or a rematch. There could be a rematch with Manny Pacquiao, so that might go too. But I do not see Danny Garcia going straight to Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence Jr. going straight to Manny Pacquiao. Or Terence Crawford. Now I'm hoping that Terence Crawford can make these fights with either Ugas, a Brook, a Porter, something like that. So, they can start making these fights between he and the PBC fighters so that we can get a really good contest, a really good idea who the best welterweight is. But that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.